The Watchers on the Hill, living on a 20-acre piece of land surrounded by family, sounds like a dream. My husband and I built our home out of shipping containers, just like his brothers did. Each of us tucked away on our own little corner of the property. Our four boys, Ethan, Ryan, Leo, and Noah, enjoy the freedom to run around and play with their cousins. We have 3 dogs: Daisy, a Boxer Pit mix; Max, a German Shepherd mix; and Charlie, a little terrier who, despite his age, is still spry. My mother-in-law lives in the original 1940s farmhouse, and my husband's brothers and their families have their own homes nearby. It's a peaceful life, one where the kids are safe to roam and the dogs patrol the property. The dogs are our first line of defense, always alert and protective. But what happened last night shattered any sense of safety we had. It started with Ryan. He's always been prone to nightmares, the kind that send him scurrying into our bed in the middle of the night. Last night, he came to our room around 2, his small hand tugging at my blanket. "Mom," he whispered, his voice trembling. I had a nightmare. I was used to this by now, so I just lifted the blanket and let him crawl in between my husband and me. "It's okay, Ryan," I murmured, trying to calm him down. "It was just a bad dream." He didn't say anything else, just snuggled closer to me, his little body still shaking. I could tell he was scared, but I was so tired that I didn't think much of it. I figured he'd fall back asleep soon, as he always did. But something felt different tonight. The dogs, Daisy, Max, and Charlie, weren't settling down. I couldn't see Daisy at the front door from our bedroom, but I could hear her pacing, her nails clicking on the hardwood floor in the living room. Max, who usually sleeps by the boys' rooms or near the front door, was sitting on the bench at the end of our bed, staring out the window that overlooked the hill. His body was tense, his ears perked up, and his gaze was fixed on something outside. Meanwhile, Charlie had burrowed under the blankets at the foot of our bed, trembling and refusing to come out. My heart skipped a beat as I realized Max wasn't just staring off into the night. He was focused on something. I slowly sat up, squinting to see what had him so on edge. The hill, which we usually admired during the day, looked different under the pale light of the moon. The shadows seemed to stretch and shift in ways that didn't feel natural. "Mom," Ryan whispered again, his voice shaky. "The people from my dream, they're outside." I froze, my eyes still locked on the hill. "What people, Ryan?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. He pointed toward the window. "The ones who watch us from the hill." I glanced out the window again, my stomach knotting with dread. At first, I saw nothing but the familiar landscape, but as my eyes adjusted, I noticed a figure, tall and motionless, standing at the top of the hill. It was hard to make out in the darkness, but it was there, watching. "Mom, I'm scared," Ryan whispered, his small hand clutching my arm. "It's just a dream," I said, but my voice wavered. I wasn't sure I believed it myself. I kept staring at the figure, hoping it would disappear, that it was just a trick of the light. But it didn't move. And then, to my horror, I realized there were more other figures slowly emerging from the shadows, all facing our house, all standing perfectly still. I gently nudged Ryan closer to me, trying to shield him from the sight. "Stay here, okay? I'm going to check on the dogs." He nodded, but I could see the fear in his eyes. I hated leaving him, but I had to see what was going on in the living room. I slid out of bed, my legs trembling as I made my way to the door. Max didn't move from his spot on the bench, still staring out the window as if transfixed. I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was outside wasn't just watching, it was waiting. When I reached the hallway, I heard Daisy's low growl coming from the living room, followed by the unmistakable sound of her nails tapping nervously on the floor. I quickened my pace, trying to stay quiet as I approached the front door. The blinds on the glass door were down, blocking my view of whatever was outside, but I could feel the tension in the air, thick and heavy. The atmosphere was suffocating, pressing down on me with a weight that made it hard to breathe. Daisy's growls grew more intense, almost as if she could sense something on the other side of the door. Max had finally moved from his post at the window and was now pacing behind me, his nails clicking on the floor as he kept his gaze fixed on the door. The silence was deafening, every sound amplified in the stillness of the night, making it difficult to think clearly. When I reached the living room, I found Daisy standing rigid by the front door, her fur bristling. She wasn't barking, just growling deeply, her eyes fixed on the door as if she knew something was out there, something she didn't want to face. My husband appeared beside me, his face pale with fear. "What the hell is going on?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. "I don't know," I admitted, my voice trembling. "But I think Ryan was right, there's something out there." He reached for the button to raise the blinds, but I grabbed his hand, stopping him. "Don't," I whispered. "I don't want to see it." He hesitated, but then nodded, stepping back from the door. We stood there, listening to the silence, the growls, and the oppressive atmosphere that surrounded us. The air felt charged, as if we were on the brink of something terrible, but neither of us dared to move. And then, just as suddenly as it had started, the tension in the air seemed to lift slightly. The dog's growls quieted, and the suffocating heaviness lessened. But the fear lingered, heavy and oppressive. We didn't raise the blinds. We didn't open the door. Instead, we backed away slowly, retreating down the hallway. As we passed the boys' rooms, we gathered Ethan, Leo, and Noah. I wasn't going to leave the little ones alone, not after what we'd seen or thought we'd seen. We brought them all into our bedroom, closing the door behind us. The boys huddled together on the bed, their eyes wide with fear. We stayed there, wide awake, waiting for something to happen. But the night passed in tense silence, and when dawn finally broke, I dared to peek out the window. The figures on the hill were gone, the landscape once again quiet and serene. But the memory of what we'd seen, what we'd felt, stayed with us. It's been a few weeks now, and Ryan hasn't had a single nightmare since that night. The figures haven't returned, but the unease hasn't left us. Every evening, when the sun begins to set and the shadows lengthen, I find myself glancing toward the hill, my eyes scanning for any signs of movement. So far, there's been nothing, just the quiet stillness of the land. We aren't considering moving. This land has been in my husband's family for generations, and we've built a home we love. It's a setup most people would envy, surrounded by family and the beauty of nature. But there's a sense now that something's changed, something subtle and unspoken that hangs over us like a veil. Some nights, I lie awake, listening to the quiet, feeling the weight of the darkness outside, pressing in on the house. The dogs seem to sense it too. They've been sticking closer to the house, more on edge, as if they're waiting for something. I tell myself that it's over, that whatever was out there is gone, but deep down, I know that's just a comforting lie. I don't know what the watchers wanted or why they appeared, but I can't shake the feeling that it wasn't the end, only a beginning. And if they come back, I don't know if we'll be ready.